Section 1. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Chapter 1. Get back up. The godly may trip 7 times, but they will get up again. Proverbs 24:16 NLT. The crisp Saturday morning was draped in a cool haze, which hung heavy in the air as fans and families trickled into the large stadium. People carrying blankets and thermoses full of warm drinks found places to sit on the aluminum benches as the track and field officials and high school athletes stretched and prepared for a day of competition. Shivering, I found myself on the red clay track between white chalk lines, legs shaking from nerves. I blamed the weather. My cleats crunched the ground as I made my way into my starting blocks. I pressed my feet tightly against the metal, held my hands steady, and coiled my body in anticipation, ready to spring out and start the race. It was my junior year of high school, and I was voted captain of the varsity track team, a rarity for a non-senior. The honor was not lost on me, and I was excited. All the training, conditioning, and sprints we ran for weeks on end had been to prepare us for this moment. Yes, this moment when students from all over the area would compete in a regional preseason invitational, a way to show our stuff as well as gauge the threat of opponents for the season ahead. I planned to compete in several events, but this race, the first of the day, was the 300-meter hurdles. Whatever possessed a Mexican, that's Mexican plus Puerto Rican, in case you wondered, girl, 5'2" on a tall day, to choose a sprint that required her to leap over 10 aluminum obstacles, each 3 feet high, is beyond me. But I was raised by a faith-filled mother who would constantly quote scriptures like, "I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength," Philippians 4:13 NLT. Looking back, I'm not sure Paul the Apostle, the author of this famous verse, was specifically referring to teenage girls with the ambition of running track, but I appropriated this scripture as inspiration and confirmation that I was going to come out more than a conqueror. Again, another nod to the wisdom of Paul the Apostle in Romans 8:37. Everyone was excited to start the full day of competition. There was electricity in the air. The anticipation felt as dense as the haze that clung to the ground. Before the girls in my race positioned into the staggered starting blocks, I was able to assess who I was up against, specifically about whom I had been forewarned. These girls were in lanes on either side of me and stood as giants. In my memory, their hips were at my shoulders. Maybe I'm being dramatic, but in that moment, it felt like a David versus Goliath and Goliath's sisters battle. Not to be discouraged by the size of my competitors, I attempted to hype myself up, whispering my favorite verse from Paul the Apostle, "Run in such a way as to get the prize," 1 Corinthians 9:24. Friend, if there is one thing I will run for, it's a prize. All eyes in the stadium were on this race, and I was running to win. One of the track officials stood in the grass a short distance ahead of us and shouted, "On your marks!" We all settled into our blocks. "Get set!" he boomed, his right arm raised, pointing the starting pistol into the air. I could feel my muscles quiver, but I held my body still, waiting for the pop of the gun and the poof of white smoke signaling the start of the race. Pow! The gun cracked, and I was out of the blocks like a jackrabbit. I could see Sister One on my outside lane, her long stride like a gazelle's as she sailed effortlessly over the first hurdle. I was only a few steps behind. As I approached the second hurdle, I hit a solid cadence. My pace actually matched hers. I can't believe it, I thought. I can actually beat her. We were coming up on the curve, and before I could process what was happening, Sister Two was creeping up on my left. I could barely see her, but I could feel her. And she blew right past me at the third hurdle. Now, this is the part of the story that haunts me to this very day. The decision that compromised what might have been had I just simply listened to what my coach had been telling me day in and day out the last 2 seasons. When training the hurdlers and sprinters, Coach Julia attempted to drill into our minds one cardinal rule of racing. Don't look to your left or your right, she would tell us. They're not your lanes. Your job is to run your race. And during my 3rd season, as captain of the varsity team, did I at all heed the wisdom of my beloved Coach Julia? Nope, not even a little bit. My eyes darted back and forth between lanes, which completely threw off my approach to the next hurdle. In the 300-meter hurdles, it's crucial to develop a rhythm between hurdles. If that cadence is interrupted, it will affect your body placement and your ability to get up and over the hurdle. Well,